I think the effort in Plateau State is quite different from other parts in Benue and Taraba State. They've had a town hall meeting now. There was a time they organized a novelty match between the Fulani and the locals, and then they also had the time they ate together and all of that.
I think these are good effort. These are good steps in right directions, really, to bring about unity and see how people can appreciate each other, appreciate each other's culture, and learn to accommodate each other's differences. I think it's a good initiative.
The reports we got from parts of Agatu in Benue State is really mind-touching, and then apart from that, parts of Taraba State and also in Plateau State, these things have it's been a recurring activity all the while. I guess the government is staying on top of that. Now we have an intelligence analyst and former general duty officer with the Directorate of State Services, Ahmed Kadiri. He's here with us in the studio. It's good to have you on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you very much.
Morning.
Thanks for having me.
Now, government has promised the people we are going to do something about the herdsmen, the clash within the community, farming communities or fishing communities generally in the Middle Belt region. There hasn't been too much of improvement when it comes to people living peacefully and going to sleep with their eyes closed.
Well, this Fulani herdsman problem has been with us for quite a while. My father owns a farm in Edo State, a large expanse of land, and we do have Fulani herdsmen who come to graze their cattle because we have a lake on the farm, and they come to water their cattle. And between my father's farm and the Fulani cattle herdsmen, we've had peace because we have worked on the relationship that we share with them. We allow them graze their cattle when we are not in season. But as soon as we start farming, we have that understanding that, look, hey, you cannot come and graze your cattle while our crops are in season. Now, this should cut across the board, because if we do not try to solve this problem as soon as possible, it's a threat to national security. Because where you now start having issues, constant fights between Fulani herdsmen and the locals, you're going to have chaos across the board. They cannot graze this cattle up north because up north we have savanna vegetation and all that. It's much more fertile here in the south, which is why we see more of them coming this way. Now, how do we solve this problem? We have to find ways to ensure that we have a peaceful coexistence between these Fulani herdsmen and the locals, like I have said before. Let's see how we can go about ensuring that we have a peaceful coexistence with them, because we all feed on these cows. we all buy the beef in the market, let's face it. So let's find a way to have a peaceful coexistence so that we do not have a much more untoward situation like we're having in Jos, in Benue, etc.
Okay. As a senior special assistant on media to the Taraba State Governor, Sylvanus Yakubu, is joining us now from Abuja. Many thanks for joining us this morning. Of course, your state has had its own share of this Fulani herdsman attack, and scores were actually killed during the attack. And Governor Mimiko of Ondo State has described this issue as a monstrous issue that must be tackled. And our guest here just said it could be a threat to national security. What do you think?
Absolutely, it could be a threat to national security, because sometimes you would think this particular problem, it's one-sided in the sense that people are not reacting to it the way it's supposed to be. For instance, now the issue of Taraba State. Taraba State is now engulfed in that kind of a crisis that people are getting scared to go back to their farms. I think it's a threat to national security.
All right, can you give us a picture of the areas in Taraba State that you have seen and you have heard that the Fulani herdsmen, their activity affect the communities?
Yeah, northern Taraba, for instance, around Karim Lamido local government, central Taraba, which currently is involved in crisis. I think definitely the issue of national security here, it's really it's conspicuous. It's conspicuous.
All right, Mr. Sivanos, we'll get back to you.
The federal government should.
All right, we'll get back to you. We're still on the discussion. Our guest is still here with us in the studio talking about Taraba. So there are reports that when in one of this area villages where a fight broke out between the Fulani herdsmen and the people, the police in that area were contacted to go and weigh in and fight last peace to the situation there. And one of the complaints the police command gave was that the road was bad, that they didn't have access to all those villages. And really, is that a tenable excuse?
Definitely not. The police function is to maintain law and order, and there is no excuse. You cannot say that a bad road is the reason why you're going to leave citizens in danger. It's not a tenable excuse. Now, on the other hand, we have to. The Nigerian government has to find a lasting solution to this problem. The intelligence bodies have to dig deep. We have to find out, are these actually Fulani herdsmen? They might be, but I think everything has to be done to really clarify issues. Nothing should be taken for granted. Now let's find out if these are actually Fulani herdsmen. Are they terrorists masquerading as Fulani herdsmen? Do they have an intention of trying to create, foment discord between, in Nigerian communities in order to possibly destabilize the government? These are things we have to find. And where that is not on the table, what efforts can we make as a people, as a government in this country, to ensure that we have a peaceful coexistence between these herdsmen and the locals wherever they go in this country? There is a National Grazing Commission bill, but to my mind, I do not think that the government should concern itself. These cattle are owned by individuals. What are these individuals trying to do in perhaps setting up ranches where these cattle can graze safely? This is what happens in other countries. In places like Kenya, you have ranches where these cattle graze peacefully, and we've not had any problems. The Maasai who graze cattle in Kenya, they've been grazing cattle since the times of Joseph in the Nile, and they've not had problems with anyone there. So let's borrow a leaf from what's happening in Kenya, and let's see if we can apply it to the society here.
All right,
so
let's go back to Mr. Yakubu. Let me go back to Mr. Yakubu. Now, can you tell us what the Taraba State government has done in trying to bring peace between the Fulani herdsmen and the villages and communities?
Yes. Just now, I got this information that soldiers have also been drafted to the areas in order to ensure that normalcy returns, because we still have refugees in various camps. We have refugees in Mayo Salve. We have refugees in this around Kumi area. So soldiers have been drafted. The intention of government now is to ensure that peace returns, and then to create a sort of confidence into the mind of those affected with the crisis, so that they will go back to their farms. Definitely this thing will affect the farming season, and the rains have started falling. So I think government is trying to ensure that peace returns. After peace, then there will be meetings, because the secretary to the government and the deputy governor are in charge, and they have ensured that everything comes down to normal. Even the Speaker of the State House of Assembly is also involved in that committee. And I know very soon normalcy will return.
Okay, but the senator representing Taraba South, Senator Bachua, said that, like our guest also echoed here, that some of this herdsmen attack, and not just from Fulani herdsmen, that some of these people are terrorists. And the Human Rights Association Writers of Nigeria have asked the Nigerian government to declare these people as terrorists. Before we find a way forward, perhaps it's better to really fish out and know those who are terrorists and those who are just Fulani herdsmen. Do you subscribe to that?
Yes, definitely. I think these people are herdsmen in court. I totally concur with Senator Emmanuel Bwacha. He raised this alarm and he was being misconceived. But at the end of the day, I think Bwacha has been vindicated. So I think something should be done about it. There should be proper checks of the influx of questionable characters into all these places that are being affected, because they come to camouflage that they are herdsmen. But when you look deep, some of them are not herdsmen, because the Fulanis in Taraba are not known for violence. So we feel these are the influx of these so-called herdsmen that are influencing this crisis.
All right. Many of the clashes have left a lot of people displaced when these encounters happen. What is Taraba State doing in helping those people who are displaced from the violence with the herdsmen?
Definitely relief materials have been provided, food in terms of food items and mattresses, and then feeding, total feeding now. Government is now taking charge of the feeding, pending when normalcy returns. And I know immediately after normalcy returns, meetings will be held so that we'll find a lasting solution to the crisis. Because I want to tell you that we in Taraba, we are tired of this. We are eager to develop. We are eager to grow, because the governor is interested in ensuring that he meets his target as far as development is concerned. So, you know, if there are crises, there will be no development. So I think we would like to call on the federal government to also assist, because Taraba State has one of the highest IDPs in the country. You recall that there are some IDPs that decided to come down to Taraba from the northeastern zone, those affected by the Boko Haram.
Okay, all right, we'll just hold your thoughts there, our guests in Abuja and of course our guests here in the studio, but we want to hear what Nigerians are saying about this, and we'll go to the social media for that. And of course we have our guide here, Awali Fakile, to tell us exactly what is happening in the world of the social media.
First, I'd like to give you the historical perspective of how these attacks have played out across states in Nigeria. So let me just
Okay, well, just hold on a bit, and we'll...
Well, just hold on a little. Let me ask, before you go into the perspective of that, let me ask Kadiri. You gave us a picture earlier of your father's farm and so on. Now, going back to the 80s, I remember when farmers, in fact, sometimes they expect the Fulani people to come because they're going to get things like Nunu, they're going to get things like Fura and all of that. At what point did things go wrong?
It has to do with, to my mind, an increase in population. People are getting more. Space is getting smaller, and therefore there is more aggression towards anybody who is perceived as trying to come into one's private space. So we are a nation, we are the most populous African nation on earth. So we are growing exponentially. And this, to my mind, is what is bringing this problem to the front burner more and more every time. We're now having soldiers, military officers involved in brokering peace meetings. That gives you a sense that it is getting to a feverish pitch, and we really have to find ways to address this problem before it finally spins out of control.
Okay. Let's go back to Wale now. Wale.
So let me just take you down memory lane and let's see how these attacks have played out. Now, in recent times, Fulani Herdsmen have continued to unleash terror in different parts of the country, especially in the Middle Belt. One of the causes of the problem is the Fulani Herdsmen continuous search for grazing fields and in the process encroaching into farmlands. Now, this has over years heightened tensions between the herdsmen and farmers in different communities of the affected states. The herdsmen, who now allegedly carry firearms, have clashed with indigents of these communities and many lives lost. Now, let's take a look at the states that have been affected, that have been attacked by Fulani herdsmen. Now, Benue State, Plateau State, Taraba, Nasarawa, Kaduna, Ekiti State, Kwara, Zamfara, Kogi, Adamawa, Edo, Niger, Ondo, Enugu, Jigawa, Oyo, and Imo State. The list is quite endless. Now, of the states listed above, these are the worst hit. Benue, Plateau, and Taraba states. Now, it is important to know that some of the affected villages in these states are farming and fishing communities. And we kick off with Benue, where more than 300 people have been killed and thousands displaced this year alone. Moving forward, then 6 communities in Taraba State, Gishiri, Hassan, Mesuma, Dure, and others in Plateau State. We have Rion and Askin, Ladi local government areas are the worst hit, and the affected villages in these local government areas are from Far and Beram communities. Now, let me just go back to Mike and Busolami. Now, we've heard this analysis and how these attacks have played out in history. But what do you think authorities can actually do to nip this this ugly trend in the bud?
Our guest.
Let me just direct that to your guest.
Okay.
Exactly, because I was going to. Okay,
Coming back to me.
Okay, so it's over to you.
So what can the authorities do? Like I said, number one, let's conduct due diligence on these so-called herdsmen. Are they actually herdsmen? Are they herdsmen masquerading as something else? Now, we are aware that some of these herdsmen drift in from other African countries. So what is border control doing in monitoring these people who drift through our borders into Nigeria? Are we able to track them once they come into the country? Do we have such a system in place to track them wherever they go? Now, if we're able to have that, we'll be able to have some sense of organization in knowing who the foreign herdsmen are and who the indigenous herdsmen are. So we know who is a Nigerian and who is not. Because right now we do not know who are Nigerians and who are not.
The fact that Fulani tribe, so to say, spans beyond Nigeria to other parts.
Exactly. So we should be able to differentiate between the Fulani who is a Nigerian and the Fulani who is not. Now, what do we have in place as a government to ensure that maybe perhaps we're able to set up ranches? If the foreign herdsmen come into the country, you know that, okay, let's direct them to these ranches. Let them graze their cattle there.
It's all right. Wale, I guess you have your
answers
answers now.
You have answers, but let me just see what people are saying about this on social media platforms.
Okay.
So, this is a picture of a Fulani herdsman. So these are some of the reactions. So Nigeria Army arrests 92 Fulani herdsmen who had guns, cartridge ammo, cutlasses, assorted charms and hard drugs. Are these herdsmen? Question, question, question. Ali Baba says, wait, farmers say Fulani herdsmen are destroying their hard labor and federal government is doing something. Isn't that what pirates did to artists? Yet another question there, begging for answer. And Renomo Chris says, vandals who destroy pipelines face Boko Haram treatment. But Fulani herdsmen who destroy people are rewarded with grazing communities. Let me just leave it there, Mike and Busolami. So I guess I'll leave you guys at this point with the guests to continue the analysis and see what.
Thank you, Wale.
Thank you.
In the first picture there, we saw a Fulani headman carrying a rifle.
A rifle.
That's
quite remarkable.
It's taking things to another level.
Indeed. Our guest in Abuja is still there, Mr. Sylvanus Yakubu. Just before we let you go, you talked about the issue of the IDP. Have you thought of the issue of agricultural losses that the people incur during these attacks? Apart from providing for the IDPs, is your government doing anything to restart these farmers when they go back to their communities?
Absolutely. Government has put in place a committee to ensure that these farmers go back to their places of abode. And I'm talking to you in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Once normalcy returns, I think they will go back to their farms. But definitely there will be this psychological trauma. And then, so that's why government decided to intensify security in those areas by adding the soldiers to the place, because that place is right in the interior of central Taraba. And some of the villages are bordering the camp roads. So government has to intensify that to ensure that the local farmers have confidence to go back to their places of abode.
All right, Sylvanus Yakubu, Senior Special Assistant to the Taraba State Governor on Media. Thank you for talking to us on TVC Breakfast. Okay, now back to you now, Ahmed. One thing there is, we have seen these herdsmen cross between Taraba State, Benue State, Plateau State, sometimes even in Nasarawa State as the case may be, and even down to Ondo State and so on. What impact would it have for the governors to come together to find a solution, since it seemed like one state government can't do enough or do a lot, as the case may be? Definitely,
eventually, these governors have to come together to seek a solution to this problem. It's a meeting that just has to hold. Like I said, this is, to my mind, is a threat to national security. So definitely the governors, as the chief security officers of their respective...
Your time, Mr. Ahmed Kadiri, talking about the Fulani Herdsmen.